Hello, everyone. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, and everyone listening today, I want to talk to you about something that is at the very heart of our spiritual journey, trusting God's ways. Life is full of challenges, twists and turns, and often we find ourselves asking, why is this happening to me? Or why isn't God answering my prayers the way I want? Life often feels like it's moving at a pace we cannot control. We watch as others seem to advance, as opportunities appear to come to them effortlessly, and we ask ourselves, why not me? Why is my breakthrough delayed? It's easy in these moments to feel frustrated or discouraged. We forget that life is not a race and God's timing is not our timing. The first step in trusting God's ways is learning to understand His timing. God operates on a schedule that is far higher and wiser than anything we could orchestrate on our own. What may seem like a delay to us is often preparation, shaping us for the moment when we will step into all that God has designed for us. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes that there is a time for everything under heaven. There is a time to plant, a time to grow, and a time to harvest. God's timing is always perfect, and it is always working for our good, even when we cannot see it. We must remember that a delay does not mean denial. Just because a door has not opened yet does not mean it will never open. Often the things we are waiting for are being prepared in ways we cannot yet imagine. Every skill we are learning, every challenge we face, and every season of waiting is equipping us for a greater purpose. Trusting God's timing requires patience, and patience is not always easy in a world that values instant results. But when we trust, we discover that God's timing is precise and His plan for our lives is designed to bring blessings that go beyond what we can ask or imagine. We may not understand why certain things are taking longer than we expect, but God is orchestrating every detail for a greater good. Sometimes we look at our lives and see setbacks, disappointments, or moments of waiting, and we question if God has forgotten us. The truth is that God never forgets us. His timing is intentional. He sees the bigger picture, and He knows exactly when to bring things to pass. Just like a gardener knows the perfect time to plant seeds, water them, and wait for them to grow, God knows the perfect time for the desires of your heart to come to fruition. During the waiting, we are being shaped, strengthened, and prepared to handle the blessings He is about to release. Learning to trust God's timing is also about letting go of comparison. We live in a world where we can see the progress of others, their successes, and their achievements. It's easy to compare our journey to someone else's and feel discouraged, but God's plan is unique for each of us. What is meant for someone else is not meant for us, and what is meant for us will come at the perfect time. Trusting His timing requires faith that He is faithful. It requires patience when the world says hurry. It requires hope when circumstances suggest otherwise. When we begin to understand God's timing, we stop rushing, stop worrying, and stop forcing things into place. We start to move in alignment with His plan. And when the timing is right, doors will open, opportunities will appear, and blessings will arrive in a way that is greater than anything we could have planned on our own. Remember, life's delays are not denials. They are God's way of preparing us for something extraordinary. Trust His timing, believe in His plan, and know that every season, every waiting period, and every moment of preparation is leading you into a life filled with purpose, blessings, and divine favor. One of the most challenging things for us as human beings is the desire to control every aspect of our lives. We like to know what's coming next. We like to have a plan for every season. We like to map out our careers, our relationships, and our future. But God calls us to something much greater than controlling life. He calls us to trust Him, to let go, and to surrender. Letting go of control does not mean giving up. It does not mean being passive or doing nothing. It means aligning our actions with God's guidance and believing that His wisdom surpasses anything we could create on our own. When we try to control everything, we limit the blessings that God has prepared for us. We think we know what is best, but our perspective is limited. God sees the full picture. He knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of our story. He knows the people we need to meet, the opportunities we need to receive, and the experiences that will shape us into the person He created us to be. Surrendering control allows us to step into His plan with confidence and peace. It allows us to stop forcing outcomes and start walking in alignment with His will. When we surrender, we also release the fear and anxiety that come from trying to make everything happen on our own. There is freedom in knowing that God is in control, that He is working for our good, and that His timing and His plan are perfect. One of the best examples of surrender in the Bible is found in Proverbs, where it says, "Commit your works to the Lord and your plans will be established." When we commit our plans to Him, we are not abandoning ambition or purpose. We are strengthening them. We are letting God take the lead so that what we do is more effective, more fruitful, and more blessed. Surrendering control is also about trusting that God can do more with our lives than we ever could on our own. When we insist on doing things our way, we limit the power and creativity that God can pour into our efforts. We hold back the blessings, the divine connections, and the favor that He wants to release. Letting go opens the door for miracles, breakthroughs, and opportunities that we could never have imagined. It takes humility and faith to surrender. It takes courage to release our grip on our plans, our fears, and our desires. But when we do, we experience a new kind of peace, a peace that comes from knowing that our lives are in the hands of a loving, all-knowing God. Surrendering also requires patience. We may have to wait while God unfolds His plan. We may have to trust Him when the way forward is unclear. But every step we take in faith, every moment we allow Him to lead, brings us closer to the destiny He has prepared. Remember, letting go of control does not mean losing purpose. It means trusting that God's purpose is greater than our own. It means believing that He knows what is best for our lives and that His plan is far more beautiful than anything we could imagine. So today, take a moment to release the need to control everything. Give your worries, your ambitions, and your fears to God. Walk in faith, not in anxiety. Trust that His ways are higher, His plan is perfect, and His timing is flawless. When we let go, we make room for God to move in extraordinary ways. And when we fully surrender, we find that life becomes richer, blessings become greater, and peace becomes deeper than we ever thought possible. Life is full of moments that don't go the way we plan. Sometimes we face setbacks, disappointments, and situations that feel unfair. We may experience failure, rejection, or loss, and it's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder if we are on the wrong path, or to question whether our efforts are even worth it. But trusting God's ways means learning to see setbacks as setups, opportunities in disguise, designed to prepare us for something far greater. The story of Joseph in the Bible is a perfect example. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. From a human perspective, his life seemed like a series of tragedies. It would have been easy for him to give up, to become bitter, or to abandon hope. But Joseph trusted God's plan. He believed that even the challenges he faced were part of a greater purpose, and God's faithfulness eventually elevated him to a position where he could save nations from famine. Every setback in Joseph's life was actually a setup for his destiny. This is the principle that can transform our own lives. When we face challenges, instead of seeing them as dead ends, we can start viewing them as opportunities for growth, preparation, and breakthrough. Often the very thing we resist or wish would go away is exactly what is shaping us to handle greater responsibilities, blessings, or influence in the future. Setbacks test our patience, develop our character, and build resilience. They teach us lessons we cannot learn in seasons of ease. They force us to rely on God, to deepen our faith, and to discover inner strength we didn't know we had. When we trust God during these times, we position ourselves to walk into new opportunities with wisdom, courage, and confidence. Setbacks are not signs of failure. They are signals that God is at work behind the scenes, preparing us for something bigger than we could imagine. It's important to remember that the timing of God's blessings may not align with our expectations. A setback may feel like a delay, but it could be part of a larger plan that is unfolding perfectly. The challenge is to trust, to keep moving forward in faith, and to believe that God is turning every trial into a testimony. Our perspective is key. We can choose to focus on what went wrong, or we can focus on what God is teaching us through the experience. We can see setbacks as obstacles that stop us, or we can see them as stepping stones that elevate us. When we embrace the idea that setbacks are setups, our mindset changes. We become resilient, hopeful, and ready to receive the good that God is preparing for us. Life will not always be easy, and there will be moments of struggle. But God promises that He works all things together for the good of those who love Him. When you trust Him, you realize that every challenge, every delay, and every disappointment is a part of a divine setup for your breakthrough. The next time you face a setback, remember Joseph. Remember that God can take what seems like a tragedy and turn it into a triumph. Keep your faith, remain steadfast, and hold on to hope. Your current struggles are not the end of your story. They are the beginning of a greater chapter. Trust God and watch as He transforms your setbacks into setups for blessings, success, and fulfillment beyond your wildest dreams. Fear and worry are natural parts of being human. We all experience moments when uncertainty creeps in, when we feel anxious about the future, or when we question whether things will ever work out. But trusting God's ways means learning to surrender your worries and fears to Him. It means understanding that God is bigger than our problems, stronger than our fears, and wiser than our doubts. The Bible tells us not to be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving to present our requests to God. When we do this, God promises to give us a peace that surpasses all understanding. Surrendering our worries does not mean that our problems disappear immediately. It does not mean that challenges vanish or that life becomes effortless. What it does mean is that we stop carrying the weight of fear and start placing it into the capable hands of God. When we let go and trust Him, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to control every outcome. One of the most powerful steps in surrendering fear is speaking to yourself with faith instead of doubt. Instead of saying, I can't handle this or I'm not strong enough, start saying, God is with me. He has a plan and I trust Him. Your words have power. And when you align your thoughts and speech with faith, you invite God's presence and peace into your life. Fear thrives in the darkness of uncertainty. But when we focus on God's promises and His faithfulness, fear loses its grip. Every time worry tries to take hold, remind yourself that God is already at work, even in ways you cannot see. He is orchestrating every detail, turning challenges into opportunities, and preparing you for the blessings ahead. Surrendering fear also means trusting God's process, even when you don't understand it. There will be moments when the path seems unclear, when doors remain closed, and when answers don't come as quickly as you hoped. These moments are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are opportunities to strengthen your faith and deepen your trust. Faith grows in the soil of uncertainty, and God's grace is sufficient for every season. It's important to remember that surrendering fear is a daily practice. It's not a one-time decision, but a continuous act of trust. Every morning, you can choose to hand over your worries to God. Every challenge, you can choose to release your anxiety and lean on His strength. And every night, you can reflect on how God has been faithful, reinforcing your trust for tomorrow. When we surrender our fears, we step into a life of peace, confidence, and expectation. We begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, and hope instead of despair. The power of surrendering. Fear is that it allows God to move freely in our lives. It opens the door for His favor, provision, and blessings. It transforms our perspective, giving us courage to face the unknown with faith instead of worry. Today, I encourage you to give your fears to God. Let go of the burden of worry and embrace the peace that only He can provide. Trust that He is bigger than every chalet. stronger than every obstacle, and faithful to bring you through every season. When you surrender your fears, you are not weak, you are powerful because you are allowing God's strength to work through you. And as you trust Him, you will find that what once seemed frightening becomes a stepping stone to your greatest victories, blessings, and breakthroughs. God's plan for our lives is often beyond our understanding. We may find ourselves asking, why is this happening? Or why hasn't God answered my prayer yet? The truth is, God's ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. There are mysteries in life that we may never fully comprehend, yet trusting God means embracing those mysteries with faith, knowing that He is always at work for our good. It's easy to become frustrated when things don't happen on our timetable, when life seems unpredictable, or when circumstances appear confusing. But God is never confused. He is never late. He is orchestrating every detail of our lives, often in ways we cannot see. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected turn has a purpose. Even when the path seems unclear, we can have confidence that God is leading us exactly where we need to be. Embracing the mystery of God's plan requires faith. It requires the ability to trust Him even when we don't have all the answers, even when life doesn't make sense. Faith is not about seeing the entire road ahead. It's about taking the next step, believing that God is with us and trusting that He will guide our steps. Think about Abraham. God called him to leave everything familiar and go to a place he had never seen. He didn't know what lay ahead, yet he trusted God. His obedience and faith opened the door for the fulfillment of God's promises. This is the kind of trust we are called to cultivate. Life will bring seasons of uncertainty. We may not understand why we are facing certain challenges or why our prayers seem delayed, but trusting God means believing that there is a bigger picture that we cannot yet see. It means knowing that every season, whether of joy or difficulty, is shaping us, preparing us, and positioning us for the blessings God has promised. Sometimes the mystery of God's plan is also about timing. We want things to happen now, but God's timing is perfect. He is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, people, and resources in ways we see or never imagine. When we try to force outcomes or rush the process, we can miss the fullness of His plan. Learning to embrace the mystery of God's plan also requires patience and perseverance. It means walking by faith and not by sight. It means trusting that God is faithful, even when the way forward is hidden. And it means holding on to hope, knowing that every detail of our lives is under His control. When we embrace the mystery, we also find peace. We stop trying to figure everything out and we start focusing on the blessings that are already present in our lives. We begin to appreciate the journey, trusting that each step has a divine purpose. God's plan is often more extraordinary than we can imagine. What seems like confusion today may be clarity tomorrow. What feels like chaos now may become order. And what appears as a setback may actually be the setup for a breakthrough. The key is to trust Him, to remain faithful, and to keep moving forward with hope. Today, I encourage you to embrace the mystery of God's plan. Trust that even when you don't see the entire path, God is leading you. Believe that every delay, every challenge, and every unexpected turn is working for your ultimate good. Keep your faith strong, your heart open, and your eyes fixed on God, knowing that His plan is perfect. His timing is flawless, and His love for you is eternal. When you embrace the mystery, you position yourself to experience blessings, breakthroughs, and fulfillment beyond your wildest dreams. Trusting God's ways is not a one-time decision. It's a lifelong journey of faith, hope, and expectation. It's about living each day with confidence that God is orchestrating every detail of your life for your good, even when you cannot see the full picture. Walking in faith and expectation means believing that God is bigger than your problems, stronger than your obstacles, and more loving than you can imagine. It means trusting that He is actively working behind the scenes to align circumstances, open doors, and position you for blessings beyond what you could ask or imagine. One of the keys to walking in faith is keeping your focus on God rather than on your fears or the challenges around you. It's easy to become distracted by circumstances, to let doubt creep in, or to allow worry to dominate your thoughts. But when you fix your eyes on God, you gain perspective. You begin to see that every challenge is temporary. Every delay is part of the process, and every closed door is an opportunity for God to guide you to something even better. Walking in faith also means taking steps forward even when the outcome is uncertain. It's about being obedient to what God has called you to do, even when you cannot see the entire road ahead. Just like Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water toward Jesus, you too are called to step forward in faith, trusting that God will sustain you, guide you, and provide everything you need for the journey. Living with expectation is another important aspect of walking in faith. Expectation is a mindset of hope and confidence. It's believing that good things are on the horizon, that blessings are coming, and that God is faithful to fulfill his promises. Expectation keeps your spirit encouraged, your heart hopeful, and your actions aligned with God's plan. When you live with expectation, you approach each day with anticipation, ready to receive the good that God has prepared. It also means refusing to settle for less than what God has promised. Trusting his ways allows you to believe in his abundance rather than limiting yourself to what you can see or understand. Faith and expectation work together. Faith gives you confidence that God is at work, while expectation keeps your heart open to receive the blessings he has in store. Together, they create a life of purpose, peace, and fulfillment. Walking in faith does not mean life will be free of challenges. There will be storms, obstacles, and moments of uncertainty. But faith gives you the courage to face them, and expectation allows you to see beyond them to the victory and blessings that await. God is always faithful. He never forgets, never abandons, and never fails. When you trust him, you align yourself with his favor and open the door to his miraculous provision. It's important to remember that your faith is strengthened in the waiting. Each step you take in obedience, every challenge you face with trust, and every moment you choose hope over fear prepares you for the fullness of God's blessings. When you walk in faith and expectation, you not only move toward your destiny, but you also inspire others to trust God and live courageously. You become a living testimony of his goodness, his faithfulness, and his love. Today, I encourage you to take that step of faith. Trust God's ways, believe in his timing, and walk forward with expectation. Keep your heart open to his blessings, your mind focused on his promises, and your life aligned with his plan. Know that as you do, you will experience a life filled with purpose, peace, and miracles beyond your imagination. Trust him, walk in faith, and live each day expecting the extraordinary. God's ways are higher, his plans are greater, and his love for you is eternal. When you walk in faith and expectation, you position yourself for the fullness of all he has for your life.